Professor Rick for another edition of A Young Nerd's Guide. We are going to be performing one of the most complex and amazing series of chemical reactions today. That chemical reaction, of course, is making cookies!
What do you think? I hate cookies or I love cookies? Come on, I love cookies!
A cookie is a combination of some base ingredients. Those ingredients are flour, butter, sugar, milk, eggs, and salt. You might think that just those simple ingredients couldn't make such a complex material happen, but you would be wrong. Cookies are one of the most complex chemical reactions that we do in the kitchen. Once you put the cookies in the oven, the chemical reaction craziness starts to begin. The first chemical reaction that happens is at 92 degrees Fahrenheit. This helps the butter to melt. And when the butter melts at 92 degrees Fahrenheit, it gives the cookie shape and also helps with its flavor. The second chemical reaction that happens is at 144 degrees Fahrenheit. That is where the protein in the eggs that you added starts to break down. When these break down, the little protein strands spread out and link up with other protein strands, giving the cookie its shape. My favorite chemical reaction that happens is at 310 degrees Fahrenheit, called the Maillard reaction. The Maillard reaction is when proteins and sugars combine and start to make new combinations. This causes a browning effect of our cookie and some amazing smells and new tastes that are very nutty and bitter. The final chemical reaction that happens from 330 degrees Fahrenheit to 398 degrees Fahrenheit. This is called caramelization. Caramelization is when just the sugars start to really change. The sugar goes from a white or light brown color to a very dark brown color. It also goes from tasting very sweet to tasting very bitter with nutty and caramel flavors. These four chemical reactions together help to make a delicious baked treat. I am so excited to go on upstairs to my kitchen to learn more about cookies and the different types that we can make. My tummy is really rumbling. Let's get upstairs. Hey nerds, Professor Rick up in my kitchen. What we're going to be doing for today's experiment is first making the control cookie. That means we're going to make the best cookie recipe that I have at my disposal. After that, we're going to be testing variables. A variable is one thing that we can change in a scientific experiment to see what happens. Here are our ingredients: butter, flour, salt, baking soda, eggs, sugar, brown sugar, vanilla, chocolate, measuring cups, measuring spoons, bowl, sheet pan. The first step in our control cookie is to melt 1 cup or 8 ounces of butter. That is 2 sticks of butter. With an adult's help, you can melt it in a saucepan, or you can use a microwave. Once you have melted your butter, you're going to put it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. What I have here is what the butter looks like after it has been in the refrigerator for 20 minutes. My second step is to measure our solid ingredients. We are going to be measuring 2 cups of flour. The second solid ingredient I'm going to use is 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. The baking soda is going to create bubbles inside of my cookie, making it rise. The third ingredient in my solid measurements is going to be 2 teaspoons of salt. The next thing I'm going to do is whisk these materials together for a little while. Put your solid ingredients to the side. We're going to need them in a little bit, but not yet. My next step is I'm going to mix together what will be my liquid ingredients. The first step is I'm going to be measuring 3/4 of a cup of white granulated sugar. Putting that into my bowl that will go for my stand mixer. And then secondarily, I'm going to put 3/4 of a cup of tightly packed brown sugar into my bowl. I'm next going to add 2 large eggs. My last step for my liquid ingredients is to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. When all of my liquid ingredients are inside of the stand mixer bowl, I'm going to bring it to my stand mixer and with a whisk it for 5 minutes. My liquid mixture has been mixing in my stand mixer with my whisk attachment for 5 minutes. This is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take off the whisk, put that in the sink, I'm not going to need that again, and I'm going to use my paddle mixture tool. Attach that. What I'd like to do next is add the butter. With my paddle attachment on my stand mixer, I'm going to mix for 15 seconds. My next step is I'm going to be adding my solid mixture from before. I'm going to fold that in and mix on low for about 15 seconds. Now that my solid mixture has been combined, this is what it looks like. It smells so good and it's really starting to look like a cookie. I can't wait. My final step before I start forming my cookies is to add the chocolate. I cut this semi-sweet chocolate with a knife, and you can also use chocolate chips. I like the texture that this kind of chocolate gives.
I like the chocolate in it.
Once my chocolate is in, I'm going to mix it once again for 15 seconds just to get it incorporated. Now, my steps are over, and this is what my finished cookie dough looks like. Let's go on over and form our cookies. Hey nerds, now I'm ready to form my cookies. Here's my cookie dough, and what I'm going to grab is a sheet pan. I'm using parchment paper. I also have an ice cream scoop and some cooking spray. Put cooking spray on my parchment paper. My next step is I'm going to put a little bit of cooking oil on my ice cream scoop. So when I grab the cookie dough, it doesn't stick too much. I'm going to grab a little bit more than 1 ice cream scoop, about 3 tablespoons of cookie dough. Now that my cookie dough is in 3 tablespoon chunks on my cooking tray, I'm going to put them in the oven. Please make sure that a grown-up puts it into a 375-degree oven. Let's go. Bye-bye, little cookies. Have fun. Get so deliciously brown and golden. You're going to put your cookies in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. when you can smell that amazing caramelization and you can see the outsides getting crispy, your cookies are ready. We've had our cookies in this 375-degree oven for 15 minutes, which is a little bit longer, but let's see how they look. Make sure that a grown-up takes them out of the oven. Oh my gosh! They look so good! Oh my gosh, don't these look so amazing, nerds? I cannot wait to eat them. Every science experiment needs a couple of changes. What we're going to do next is change the variable. Once again, a variable is one thing that we change in the recipe. And see what happens. We are going to change the amount of butter in our recipe. We're going to change the amount of flour in our recipe. And we're going to change the temperature of the oven with a third recipe. I cannot wait to see how they come out. Variable butter, high at 1 1/4 cup. Welcome back, nerds! We have our first variable cookie. Let's see what the cookies look like. Oh my gosh! Do you see a difference in the cookies? I can! On to our next test. Variable butter, low at 3/4 cup. Wow! That is so interesting! It looks so much different than the cookie that had more butter. Our next variable is flour. Variable flour, high at 2 1/4 cup. Oh my gosh, that looks so different. This is so cool. Now let's test a different amount of flour. Variable flour, low at 1 3/4 cup. Oh my gosh! Look at the difference between the cookie that has less flour. Wow! That is so interesting! For our last variable, let's test temperature. Variable temperature, high at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh wow! The surface looks so different. I am so excited to see how these taste. Now to test another temperature. Variable temperature, low at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. This is so much different. Can you notice any differences? I see some differences in color especially. Wow, this is awesome. Let's go to some taste tests from some friends who are hungry for cookies.
Hi, I'm Liam. I'm 9 years old and I love every single food. Hi, my name is Angelisa and I am 6 years old. And my favorite food I would say is pasta. Hi, I'm Acalia and I am 9 years old. And my favorite food is pizza. The chocolate is really, really good. Also, it kind of smells like salt and cake. Okay, yeah, but like I really think number 2, 6.
Tell us why.
Huh?
Tell us why.
I think number 2 and 6 are a lot better because it's easier just to eat them and they're a lot nicer and finer, not much salt in them. My favorite cookie I would say is 7 and 6.
Why?
I would say 7 because it could break hard like easily, like Michaelia said. And I don't really taste that much salt in it. And number 6, it is kind of hard though. As you see, it's crackly and stuff. but the taste is good because I like the chocolate in it.
All right, Michaelia, can you tell me what was your favorite cookie and why?
My favorite cookies are number 7 and number 3 because number 7 you can like bend it easily, and number 3 it just has a good texture and you can also bend it easily.
Were there any cookies that you didn't like?
The big pancake looking thing. Oh, there's more! Ew. It's caramel, rock hard pancake. No, I'm not even tasting it. I'm not even tasting it. Knockoff restaurant. I'm about it. I'm gonna go to water. Oh, jeez. I'm punching it and it barely cracked. I punched it! Literally. This is horrible. There's hardly any chocolate inside here. It tastes disgusting. Okay. I'm giving this a 0 out of 0. Yeah, 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. Negative 1 out of 10. Negative. And this is what happens. I will punch it into smithereens.
My last question for you is, did you enjoy doing this cookie test?
What do you expect if you got a day of just eating cookies? You may be thinking to yourself, you'd like it. What do you expect? It's cookies. We're literally just eating cookies and saying how they taste. What do you expect?
Hey nerds, we saw some really cool cookies in today's experiment. We worked with variables. That is when you change one thing in a science experiment. We worked today with 3 variables. We changed the amount of butter, we changed the amount of flour, and we also changed the temperature in Fahrenheit that we baked our cookies. Let's take a look at the cookies side by side. These are the 7 cookies of our experiment. Here we have the control cookie, where we followed the recipe to a T. Our first variable was butter. This cookie is an example where we added more butter. This cookie is an example when we added less butter. Do you see any changes? Our next variable was flour. This cookie we added more flour, and this cookie we added less flour. There is a very noticeable difference. Do you see it? Our final variable is temperature. This cookie we baked at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes, and this cookie we baked at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Do you see any differences? Nerds, these variables really change the color, texture, smell, and taste of all the beautiful cookies that you see. You can do some of these experiments at home using the recipes in the link below. In today's experiment, we looked at cookies. We also looked at variables to make the cookies look different, taste different, and smell different. I hope that you had so much fun in our experiment today working with baking yummy cookies. Bye, nerds!